Well, after making the video on Sonic 1 versus Sonic CD, I said to myself, why not make a video on Sonic 2? Because I hadn't replayed that game in a while. And so I did. Sonic 2 is one of those sequels I was really hyped about when I was a kid. I couldn't really wait for this game to come out. I was in full Sonic mania. Yeah, back then. It was really a special time because, you know, the early 90s. All the cartoons, Batman the animated series, all the cool movies and so on. So Sonic 2 was really one of the games in my childhood I was really hyped for. And when it came out, it didn't disappoint. I remember enjoying it quite a bit. But it was quite hard, at least not at the beginning, but right at the end. So it took me a little bit to actually finish it for good, to beat the I was mostly stuck on the final boss. It took me a little bit. And then it took me a little bit to also discover that you could unlock Super Sonic if you got all the Chaos Emeralds. Because back then I didn't know. I only discovered that Super Sonic was a thing in this game after years. Because at first I was sure Super Sonic was the first appeared the first time in Sonic 3, but then no, I discovered it was actually this game. I was actually never able to get all the Chaos Emeralds previous to that because I was adamant on playing with Sonic and Tails together. But the problem is, if you play with Tails along with Sonic in this game, the special stages are much harder. Especially the ones after the fourth one. Because when you jump in the special stages with Sonic and then Tails jumps right after you, there's like 1 second of delay after you jump in which he will jump. But the problem is that in the special stages a lot of the time there will be bombs, and Tails also has his share of rings, so if he gets hit by the bombs, which will definitely happen given the delay in his jump when you try to dodge the bombs, he'll get hit and he will lose his portion of rings. So that will make getting the Chaos Emeralds much harder in my opinion. And in fact I think the first playthrough, which I played only with Sonic, I was able to get the Chaos Emeralds pretty much immediately. So yeah, if you wanna get all the Chaos Emeralds, don't play with Tails, play Sonic alone. But yeah, after this small introduction, let's talk a little bit more about the game. Starting with the level design. The level design, to me it seems like it was streamlined quite a bit. The stages are pretty easy. The game only starts getting slightly harder around I wanna say Hilltop Zone, Mystic Cave, and then the next big jump in difficulty there's right there at the Metropolis Zone. Then there is another big spike in Wing Fortress, which is heavy in platforming with the bottomless pits and so on. And then there's the final boss, which it is not hard per se, but the thing with the final boss in this game is that it requires patience. And when you are a kid, you don't really have much patience. So it took me a while to take it slow. And then I was finally able to beat it. Nowadays, I'm able to beat it. Even if I haven't played this game in years, I can beat it pretty easily in a few minutes. You just need to be patient. If you don't want to go all balls out and hit him every 2 seconds, you can adopt a risky strategy on the final boss. You can be relatively safe with that too, but I just prefer to be extra safe and hit it only when he is very vulnerable. But yeah, I was saying the level design. The level design is streamlined. The stages allow you to go very fast. Stages heavy in platforming. There aren't many that I can think of. Like I said, the only heavy stage in platforming when you actually have to stop and assess the situation is Wing Fortress, probably. Metropolis Zone is also a little bit heavy in platforming, but other than that, no, there aren't many stages at all in this game. Like, I don't know, let's say Marble Zone in Sonic 1 or Labyrinth Zone in Sonic 1. Most of the stages allow you to go relatively fast. Like I said, the game is very streamlined. Is actually too easy for my taste. Up until Mystic Cave. So I guess people complained about Sonic 1 being too hard. I don't know. But this one feels a little bit too easy in this sense. And most of the levels still have the structure of having multiple paths, a bottom path, upper path, and a mid path as well. I don't think all of them follow this structure, but most of them probably. I haven't walked all the paths in years, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right in this one. And yeah, I think it's no coincidence that this was the Sonic that sold the most, also because of that. I think overall, this is the Sonic that is more iconic to most people, because the art style. Let's talk about the art style. The art style in this game is top notch. Among the classic Sonics, so Sonic 1, CD, 2, 3 and Knuckles, I think this one has the best art style. In terms of character designs, Badnik designs, but also in terms of backgrounds as well. Like the background in Casino Night is pure soul to me, because it makes me, looking at the background makes me just so nostalgic for some reason, because I don't know, I used to live in a place where when I was a kid, where looking out the window, the landscape will look similar to what you see in the background of Casino Night. So I don't know, looking at the backdrop in that stage makes me very nostalgic for those years. I know it's very subjective what I'm saying, but I just can't help it. It's one of those things that just make me feel this way. And by the way, I think Casino Night is the best casino stage themed in the classic Sonics. I don't count Sonic Mania among the classic Sonics, the original 4. I mean, Sonic Mania is still a classic Sonic, but I just take it out of the comparison for now. I'm only speaking about the games that were made in the 90s. So, and yeah, Casino Night is definitely the best casino themed stage. Like Carnival Light doesn't touch it in my opinion. Carnival Light is okay, but it's not better. Same with the Spring Yard and Collision Chaos. Also, this was the first Sonic that had I forgot to mention before, the first Sonic that had a water level that you could completely skip the water if you stayed in the upper path. So that's definitely highlights the difference in level design compared to the first one, for sure. And yeah, like I said, they really did a good job with the art style. This is easily the most iconic Sonic game of the Mega Drive trilogy. I mean, if you want to count Sonic CD as well, of course. But art style wise, the design of Sonic and Tails in their portraits in the intro screen is just top notch in my opinion. Sonic 3 had that 3D look that made it very particular, but I think this one it just has more personality. It's probably just me, but yeah, I feel it this way about this game. Let's talk a little bit about the special stages. I was saying before that you shouldn't use tails if you want to get all the Chaos Emeralds, and yeah, I definitely stand by what I said. It will make the whole process harder. Granted, this is actually the only Sonic where it almost feels wrong to get all the Chaos Emeralds, because, I don't know, the game also doesn't chastise you for not getting all the Chaos Emeralds at the end, unlike the other games. So, yeah, in this sense, it is an exception. But I think it also made it, that's what made it pretty unique. The fact that it doesn't tell you try again if you don't get all the Chaos Emeralds at the end. And like I said, Super Sonic makes the game a little bit too easy as well. So yeah, I don't think it was very... Super Sonic was definitely not balanced in very, very well in this game. Also, with the fact that you can't really choose not to use it, because as long as you collect 50 rings, you will turn as long as you jump. Now I don't know, I don't remember if they have fixed this in the mobile port and in the Christian Whitehead port, which is also in Sonic Origins, but maybe they did. I don't remember though. But yeah, the special stages in Sonic 2 are definitely better than the first Sonic, for sure. I personally rank them in the same spot as the Sonic 3 special stages. So my ranking is first place is probably Sonic CD along with Sonic Mania. Second place Sonic 3 and Sonic 2, and last place Sonic 1. That's in terms of special stages, this is my ranking. So they're not the best, but not the worst either. They're functional. Not too. They are not, as long as you play alone, Sonic alone or Tails alone, you won't have problems. You'll probably fuck up a few times in a couple of the hardest ones, but after a few tries, you'll be able to get all the Chaos Emeralds, no problem. And in terms of special stages, this game is also pretty unique compared to the other games, because in this game you actually can get the chance to get the Chaos Emeralds just by collecting 50 rings and passing through a checkpoint post, which is something that the other Sonics absolutely didn't do. You can only get one chance in a level in Sonic 1 and Sonic CD to get a Chaos Emerald, and in Sonic 3 you only get a chance to get a Chaos Emerald as long as you discover the secret rings in the levels. So this is definitely unique. But I also there's an extra layer when it comes to the special stages in this game, because when you come back from a special stage, regardless or whether you actually succeeded or not, you lose all your rings because you spend them to actually enter the special stage, and all the previous rings in the level regenerate. So technically you can go back and collect the rings and try to the next to enter the next checkpoint post again in the special stage. So technically you could get all the Chaos Emeralds in Emerald Hill. If you wanna do, you can, but I just think it's tedious, honestly, playing like that. If I do get all the Chaos Emeralds, I'll just do it organically and maybe do a couple per zone, 2 or 3 per zone. So yeah, in this sense, it's mid of the road, not the best, but not the worst either. Let's talk a little bit briefly about the bosses. The bosses are not very hard, also because you can cheese most of them, especially the one in Metropolis Zone that is also a little bit hard, but you can cheese it very easily when he comes down. So I don't count him as hard. This is actually something I want to talk about in a separate video about the way to cheese and Sonic bosses, classic Sonic bosses and what you can actually do to make it a little bit better, probably. But that's for another video. The only hard boss is the last one, because the last two, because there's two bosses. There's Silver Sonic and Death Egg Robot that you have to do with 0 rings. I mean, they are, as long as you know the pattern, they are very easy, but the first time you'll probably die a couple of times when you try to get their measurements. At least I did when I was a kid. The other bosses are quite easy, honestly. They are easy, but also I think they are better designed than the ones in Sonic 1 for the most part. They have more personality. They are more creative, let's say. Something you will expect from Robotnik and his 300 IQ, I guess. But yeah, I really like the bosses, design-wise as well, the art style of the bosses and so on. This was also the last Sonic, if I remember correctly though, that did the whole 0 rings at the end to handle the final boss. I wonder why they dropped it, because I think it was quite an interesting design choice. Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 force you to face the final boss without any rings. And that makes the whole thing more tense. Meanwhile, in Sonic CD and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you can keep your rings, if I remember correctly, in the final boss. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess people... I guess they changed this because people were molding, were seeding, were spurging out, I don't know, at the boss, at the final boss in Sonic 2, because I can't really think of anything else that might be the reason for this change. Or maybe they just want to make things more accessible. I don't know. This game is already very easy. The final boss being slightly harder doesn't really change much. The game is overall pretty easy. In terms of lives as well, you cannot collect dozens of lives like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but you can get a few. Definitely more than in Sonic 1, so definitely not a hard game in this sense. The music is also pretty good. Probably better than the first one. One of the most memorable soundtracks in the franchise. For sure. So many memorable tracks in this game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic 2 are definitely the best soundtracks in the franchise, in my opinion. So no complaints in this sense. The main team, the final boss team, the invincibility team, they're all very good. I can't think of a single stage that has a theme I don't like in this game. In Sonic 3, yeah, I can think of one. I'm not very super crazy about. But this one, yeah, all the stages I like. The themes are very catchy. And like I said, I'm very nostalgic for the music as well, as long as for the art style. So you won't hear a complaint by me in this sense. Now, to conclude, because this video is already too long, this game is a classic. Like, you can't really say anything else. It is obviously not perfect because sadly they rushed it. The game is clearly not... When you get to the final stages, the game is clearly not as polished as it was in the first ones. There's a few bugs. The enemy placement is very amateurish, especially in Metropolis Zone. And also Metropolis Zone itself was clearly not tested very well. And they had to scrap a lot of content when it comes to this game. So it was sadly... I don't wanna say I'm finished, but yeah, they didn't have all the time they wanted to complete this game for sure. I wonder what we could have gotten if they had all the time they needed. Because yeah, that would have been interesting. I wish Sega would actually like commission a remake of this game to fix the issues it has, like the enemy placement in Metropolis Zone, putting back in Cyber City Zone, and so on. But I don't know, that will probably never happen. As for the rest, like I said, I don't think this is the best classic Sonic game, but I totally understand people who think so, because this game has a lot of personality. They really came into their mojo with this one. You could tell they were really into something. Lots of talented people really working on this game, so it manages to be very good despite being unpolished in some aspects. So I totally understand if you consider this your favorite Sonic game, even though I don't agree. Objectively, I can't agree, because Sonic 3 is just a bigger, more interesting game, but this one is also very good, so I totally understand. And when it comes to its legacy, this is the game that in the end introduced the spin dash, which you can tell by slight changes in the level design that are different compared to Sonic 1. Because in Sonic 1, of course, there was no spin dash originally, so you had to build speed by running back and forth, while here you can build speed with the spin dash pretty much from a very short distance. So there is a lot of slopes that weren't in the first game, because whereas in the first game there was something you could backtrack to build up speed, here in some instances there are not. You just have to spin dash and you can go back to gain up speed sometimes. And also, of course, Tails, which I think it was a good addition, because in Sonic 1 sometimes it felt a little bit lonely being just with Sonic, and Tails, I think, makes the game more dynamic and colorful and cheerful as well. And of course, the other big addition, if you want to call it that, is the more streamlined level design that has levels flowing better, which makes the game more replayable, more palatable to the average player, let's say. So all in all decent additions in my opinion, because in the end this ended up being the game that shaped the foundation for a lot of the things that will come later, also in Sonic 3. Like, for example, the storytelling through cutscenes, let's say, where it's in only one instance in Sonic 2, where Sonic grabs Robotnik's spaceship while going to the Death Egg. Meanwhile, in Sonic 3, it will become way more frequent. And also I guess you can also say stage transitions, but yeah. This definitely laid the foundation for what's to come. But yeah, catch you in the Sonic 3 portion. So stay tuned, remain on the video and watch the second part. Here we are talking about Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But first a little bit of history when it comes to my experience with these games. I was playing Sonic 2. I had been playing Sonic 2 for a long time and was really hyped for Sonic 3 as well. I had no idea what was going on with the development of Sonic 3 or whatever else Sega was doing. So the moment I finally see Sonic 3 available, I get it. And lo and behold, I was super disappointed when I played that game, because I was able to finish it pretty much 3 hours later. I had just bought it, so pretty much the same day. I was very disappointed, especially compared to Sonic 2. because that took me a while to finish, like I said in the Sonic 2 portion of the video. But yeah, then I kept playing it, trying to unlock Super Sonic with the Chaos Emeralds, trying to find the Chaos Emeralds and so on. And then I don't remember how much exactly after this. I got my hands, of course, on Sonic and Knuckles. And then I did play Sonic and Knuckles standalone for a little bit. And it was only after a few months that I decided to actually lock on the two games to see what this would actually bring me. And yeah, there was something I wasn't expecting, because putting the two games together actually made me realize that, yeah, this game is a masterpiece. The two parts alone, by themselves, they're more miss than hit, but the two combined together, yeah, that's where the real party is at. So yeah, let's get into the game, to the actual opinion of the game. Now, when it comes to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, there are a lot of changes, a lot of new ideas introduced in the game. So talking about all of them, yeah, it's gonna take a while. Let's start immediately with the graphics. This one is the Sonic on Mega Drive that definitely changed the most when it comes to graphics. Starting from Sonic's model itself, now it looks more three-dimensional. He has a new look. I personally prefer the older look more compared to the one in Sonic 3, but honestly, the one in Sonic 3 is also pretty badass, I have to say. And yeah, the graphics in general also got an overhaul, because everything looks more detailed, and some of the background elements also are 3D-like, like it was in Sonic 2 for the special stages. Yeah, in Sonic 3 as well, there are some elements that are 3D-like. For example, in Ice Cap, there's ice platforms in the background that are 3D-like. Yeah, those kinds of things. And also, yeah, there's other elements as well, not just that. For example, the infamous barrels of Doom also are have the type of graphics, the 3D-like graphics that Sonic 3 likes to do a lot. But yeah, the graphics. Yeah, this is definitely a bigger jump than they had in Sonic 2, from Sonic 1 to Sonic 2. The jump from Sonic 2 to Sonic 3 is bigger than the jump from Sonic 1 to Sonic 2, in my opinion. So definitely they did a great job. This game was peak Genesis power, peak blast processing. Yeah, for real. Now, another big change is the level design, but overall the structure is still the same when it comes to levels. They still have a high path, mid path and lower path, but here the levels are much bigger compared to Sonic 2. Mostly when it comes to the horizontal level of exploration, but also a little bit in verticality. So they really tried to fill the cartridge with all the data at Sonic Team. And yeah, I think the levels are more pleasant to play overall. They introduce some gimmicks in some of the levels, like heavy gimmicks, way more heavy in that sense than the ones that were in Sonic 2. For example, in Carnival Night with the Barrel of Doom, or in Marble Garden with the spins that you have to use to break some of the floor tiles, and all that stuff. There's not all levels have their own gimmicks, but yeah, a few do. Gimmicks that influence the level design quite a bit. And honestly, I have to say, going back to this game after a long time made me realize how good the level design, the levels and the level design is. The only two zones I wasn't really a fan of. Going back to this game after such a long time, I hadn't played this game in a long time, where actually Sandopolis, mostly Act 2 Sandopolis, and Carnival Night, actually. I remember Carnival Night being more fun than it actually was, but instead it was pretty mediocre of an experience overall, because the level is actually a bit too claustrophobic for my taste. It's not as good as I remember it, so definitely. Also, because there's a change in the music. I did play the version in Sonic Origins, so they changed some of the musics, some of the themes, which I will talk more about about the music when it comes to a later section. But yeah, having a different music, a worse music than the original release in that zone definitely didn't make it any more pleasant to go through. So yeah, but overall the level design in 80% of the zones, it's top notch. Definitely the best level design a 2D Sonic has ever had so far, at least. Now let's talk more. Actually, let's start naming the new additions that this game brings. Starting from the first thing you see, which is the intro. And yeah, this game has a dynamic storytelling in the sense that it will actually play cutscenes. This is the first game that has cutscenes to help you see through the story and the storytelling compared to the older games, because they did start doing this in Sonic 2, with Sonic 2 only at the end though, and also Sonic 1 at the end, because there was a cutscene at the end of Sonic 1. But this one, they start doing cutscenes right at the beginning, starting from the intro, in which you get introduced to the new character, which is Knuckles, of course. And he starts off as a villain, because I mean, that's his whole gimmick, Knuckles being a villain because he got tricked by Robotnik. He believed his bullshit, his lies. So at first he sides with Robotnik. That will also become a recurring theme in the series. But yeah, that's his whole shtick at the beginning. So he will try to put a stop to Sonic and Tails' adventure at first by stealing Sonic's emeralds, but then he will also try in some other not so nice ways. And yeah, Knuckles is the first big addition other than the storytelling that you get to see. He of course will become playable, and he will switch sides as soon as he realizes he got tricked in the Sonic and Knuckles portion of the game, which is also a nice way to make you see like the real nature of the character, especially when he switches sides. You get to see his cooler side, because when he's still a villain, they made him act like a bit of a weasel with his laugh, which honestly is not very Knuckles-like. Knuckles became way more serious after the first half of the game, when Sonic and him become friends. But at the beginning, they gave him that stupid laugh that I don't think fits him very well. And the other big change you get to see very early on in the game, is the bonus stages, that I think complement pretty well the new increased size of the levels. And actually, I meant special stages. There are also bonus stages in this game. I think this is the first Sonic where there are bonus stages. And but yeah, let's talk first about the special stages. You have to find special rings that are scattered throughout the zones. They are hidden pretty well, most of them. And so you'll have to explore to find them. So this game also incentivizes exploration. And sometimes I get to see people wondering, well, how can you explore if you have to go fast? Well, Sonic is not only about going fast. It's also about exploring, at least the classics. And you can do both. Because the exploration is pretty organic in the way the level are designed. So maybe you come to a halt near a wall and you just try to enter the wall, because a lot of the rings will be hidden inside walls. But you're not running when you're trying to enter a wall. You come to a halt. And that's one of the occasions in which you can explore. But, I mean, of course, you won't be running all the time. So when you're going slower is when you're actually exploring. Maybe you get to a part of the level you've never seen. And you get to explore it to see what's going on there. If there's a secret ring and so on. Or secret rings, or also monitor boxes that include like the usual rings and lives and so on. But also other interesting stuff that I'll mention later. And so yeah, talking about the special stages, of course you'll enter the ring and your objective is to collect all the blue spheres in the special stages. You have to collect only the blue spheres, because if you touch a red sphere, the special stage will fail and you won't be able to get the Chaos Emerald. If you collect the blue spheres around the perimeter of a square, you'll turn all the blue spheres in rings. And if you get all the rings in a special stage, before you actually collect all the blue spheres, you'll collect a perfect that I think it gives you a continue. So it's not very useful, because this game likes to give you lives like there's no tomorrow. And like I mentioned before, these special stages are they are pretty cool looking with their 3D graphics, but I think they are not the best in the series. They are not the worst either. They are tolerable. So I don't mind them. I really don't mind them because it's not like in Sonic 2, where you enter a special stage through checkpoint posts. You actually have to spend time looking for the rings, so you don't enter a special stage after another immediately, like you can do in Sonic 2. So it's definitely the rhythm, the pacing at which you collect the emeralds is definitely different compared to Sonic 2. Now let's talk about the bonus stages instead. The bonus stages you actually enter by the same way you enter the special stage in Sonic 2. You collect a certain amount of rings and then you go through a checkpoint post, and the stars will start floating over the checkpoint, and then pretty much that's when you jump inside the stars and you enter into a bonus stage. There are 3 bonus stages in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. In the Sonic 3 portion alone, if you don't connect the games, there's pretty much only the gacha machine, which is my favorite one. That's pretty much the easiest, the most immediate one, because you can get a lot of stuff. You can get lives, rings, the Insta shields, which I will talk about very soon. That are another new addition. And yeah, it's a very pleasant stage to play because it's very simple and immediate. That's definitely my favorite bonus stage of the game. Then there's the other 2 bonus stages that got introduced with the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge. Well, of course, when you play the games connected, you get all the bonus stages. The bonus stage you get, I think it depends on how many rings you have with you when you go through a checkpoint post. So there's that. The other 2 bonus stages I was saying, One is a slot machine pretty much similar to the ones you get to see in Casino Night in Sonic 2, which is the worst one in my opinion because it's the most boring one, because you can only get rings in that bonus stage. And you don't really need rings per se, so... Then the other one is a very interesting one, because you'll have to climb using... to climb vertically the stage using special magnetic energy balls that you will rotate around, and you have to use your momentum to actually jump higher and higher to reach the other balls and reach the top of the stage if you can. Otherwise, you can also exit the stage by getting caught by the laser, by the ray that slowly advances from bottom to top. So if you get caught by the laser or the ray, you will also exit the bonus stage. So the bonus stages as a whole are a nice addition because they actually make the game more varied, more interesting. They break off the pacing more, also compared to the special stages. And in this one is the first Sonic in which lives are a bit meaningless, because thanks to the bonus stages, especially the gacha machine one, you'll get a lot of lives, like very easy. They like to hand them over like candies. So it's not uncommon that you'll also end up with 100 lives in a playthrough if you enter a bonus stage very often, repeatedly. Because there is also... this is the first Sonic game that had... another big... this is another very big addition, a big change. This is the first one, the first Sonic that had save states. You could actually save the playthrough. The game saves the zone in which you stop at. And when you get an emerald, the game actually saves how many emeralds you have. In the original release, the only thing that didn't save, it was the I think the score, from what I remember. But in the new version, in the one Sonic Origins, I think it also saves the score. And of course the number of lives as well. I think it does save the number of lives in the new version and the old version. So yeah, it's definitely a nice addition because it allows you to be able to replay also a playthrough you just finished. So if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, you can start over the game from the zone you want with all the Chaos Emeralds. Pretty much a way to make a new game plus, which was very nice actually. Now let's talk about the Insta shields, which are very, very interesting in terms of gameplay. In this Sonic, there are 3 types of shields: fire shield, water shield, and electric shield. These shields vary, like their usefulness, depending also in what kind of environment you have. Because the water shield will allow you to breathe underwater. The fire shield will allow you to walk on fire or lava. And the electric shield will also allow you to walk on electricity, if there is. And other quirks, for example, like it allows Sonic to get magnetized. For example, in the flying battery portion, there's a bit where you get magnetized by the magnet if you have the electric shield. But these are also, I mean, yeah, the electric shield, of course, is probably the best one because its magnetic field allows you to attract rings from a distance. So yeah, it's a very good ability. But also, this is not the only function of these shields. They also have each a special ability. The water shield allows you to bounce vertically. The fire shield allows you to dash horizontally if you jump. So you pretty much become a cannon fireball. And electric shields allows you to double jump, which is probably the best ability in that sense. So yeah, the shields change the gameplay quite a bit. Of course, if you get hit once, they get deleted pretty much. You lose the shield. But these shields also have the ability to repel enemies' bullets. So if an enemy shoots you a simple bullet, these shields can repel them, as opposed to the shield in Sonic 2, which is not a thing anymore. Sonic 2 and Sonic 1, which is not a thing anymore in this game. So these shields are really a nice addition. And in terms of shields, there's also the Insta shield, which is a type of attack that you have by default. You pretty much have to just press jump again when you're jumping, and it pretty much extends the hitbox of Sonic, so it can allow you to kill enemies like the Orbinauts. What's his name? The guy that has spikes floating around him. Yeah, you can kill those types of enemies now with the Insta shield, because like I said, it makes Sonic attack box, hit box bigger, so you can hit enemies from slightly farther away without getting hit yourself. So it's very convenient actually. And the anniversary version of Sonic 3 and Knuckles also has the drop dash, like it was in Sonic Mania, which I think makes the game much more fun to play. The levels flow way better with the drop dash. And I actually think in the original plans for Sonic 3, the drop dash had to be included, but it didn't actually end up in the game for some reason. So yeah, there's that. Now, this is actually the first time in the series that you have other characters playable. You're gonna say, well, Tails was playable in Sonic 2. Yes, it was playable in Sonic 2, but it was pretty much an alternate Sonic skin. There were no differences technically between Sonic and Tails in Sonic 2, as far as I can remember. But this one is the game, the first game which actually differentiates the characters way more than just on an aesthetical level. Sonic, of course, is playable, but also Tails and also Knuckles for the first time. Because here each character has its own moveset pretty much, his own perks, his own strengths, his own weaknesses. So I already said what Sonic has. Now Tails is pretty much the easy mode of the game, because he can fly and also he can swim. So he makes traversing levels easier in that sense. It is also a little bit on the slow side when he flies, so you won't be as fast paced as you are with Sonic if you decide to fly a lot. But it is also better for exploration, because flying allows you to explore definitely levels better. Granted, you can do it with Sonic. If you play with Sonic and Tails, in the newer versions of the game, they included a command, if you press up and jump, that allows you to control Tails as a second player, and be able to fly by latching on to Tails with Sonic. So it's very convenient, which this was not in the older versions of the game, but yeah, the Tails is pretty much the easy mode of the game. Then there's Knuckles. It's an in between the two, and it is also the hard mode of the game, because his jump is way shorter, so he will have trouble hitting some bosses. And he also has different paths compared to Sonic in his levels, also because of his shorter jump. In terms of speed, yeah, I think he's, honestly I couldn't tell you, but I think he's slightly slower than Sonic. You can also glide if you press jump again while you're in the air, which is pretty much another way to fly. It's just not the same. It's faster because you can glide horizontally, only horizontally, but you come to a pretty steep halt as soon as you land. So it is also a malus when it comes to the speed, because gliding stops you in your tracks as soon as you land. But other than that, Knuckles, it is fun. Knuckles is fun. Neither Tails nor Knuckles can use the elemental shields abilities, sadly, so those are Sonic exclusive. But I think Sonic and Tails together is probably the best match in terms of gameplay. It's the most fun, the most speed friendly, and it also allows you to explore the level thanks to taking control of Tails with the new option they gave you. Tails and Knuckles alone are okay. I've never been a fan of playing those two alone, because they are not as fun as Sonic. Sonic has more options. Sonic is faster, especially with drop dash. It's just more fun to play. But a single playthrough, at least with Knuckles, you can do, because it is different enough compared to Sonic. Tails, I don't know. I've never played with Tails alone, honestly. So there's that. It's not different enough compared to Sonic. Now, when it comes to the music of Sonic 3, you already probably know that Michael Jackson worked on the Sonic 3 portion of the music. Not sure about the Sonic and Knuckles, but I don't think he was involved with Sonic and Knuckles, only with Sonic 3, and then he left the project after that. In the successive releases, they did change the soundtrack of at least 3 levels, as far as I know. So the first 3 levels are still the same, even in the anniversary version, but from the 4th level, which is Carnival Night, then Ice Cap, and then Launch Base, the soundtrack in these newer versions is completely different. And it is also way worse, in my opinion, compared to the original. The original tracks for those 3 zones were so catchy. But the newer ones are just fucking atrocious. Especially Carnival Night, it's just horrible. It makes going through that zone even more of a chore, in my opinion. It's probably possible to get the original tracks back with a mod, so I suggest you do that, because yeah, the newer tracks are bad. But the soundtrack as a whole of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the original soundtrack, so the original themes for those 3 zones, all things considered, is pretty awesome. One of the best soundtracks, probably the best soundtrack in the series, in my opinion. Very, very good themes. It is better than the one in Sonic 2, in my opinion, because just for its sheer number of tracks, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is just a longer game. And most, if not all, actually all of his tracks, except maybe one. I don't like Marble Garden that much, but other than that, all the other tracks are awesome. So I can't really complain. It's my favorite soundtrack, at least when it comes to the 2D games, to the classics. When it comes to the game itself, I think it's probably the easiest game among the bunch, considering 1-2 CD
clearly made with the idea of having people enjoy the adventure more. So they'll throw a lot of lives at you. Also thanks to the bonus stages. Like the gacha machine is the one that will give you a lot of lives. And to be honest, you don't even need lives in the anniversary version, because when you lose a life, your life count doesn't go down. You have coins in the anniversary version, so you'll only use a coin if you mess up a special stage to get a Chaos Emerald to retry. that's what they are for. They are not lives, so. But I mean, yeah, Sonic 3 and Knuckles makes the lives kind of irrelevant with how many of them they throw at you, pretty much. So it's pretty much like there's no lives, because you can earn a life just by entering a bonus stage, which of course you have to pass a checkpoint post with a certain amount of ring, but still it's not that hard, honestly. And as for the rest, when it comes to the bosses, I think the bosses are not very hard. I can't think of a single boss that kept me stuck there, like it was Sonic 2, for example. The game is overall pretty... It's not a complete cakewalk, but it's way easier. Not just for the lives, but also the bosses are overall easier, in my opinion. And in terms of bosses, there are also a new addition, because starting from Sonic 3, you have mini bosses at the end of the first act of each zone. So you will fight way more bosses in this game than any other classic Sonic game. And the robo bosses at the end of Act 1 are pretty creative. They are a nice diversion, but honestly they are not that hard, because the trend is that the bosses are not that hard in this game. And even considering, like I said in the Sonic 2 portion, that even at the end you get to keep, even at the final boss, you get to keep all your rings. So it's not like Sonic 1 or 2 that they take away all your rings and you have to face the final boss with 0 rings. So there is always gonna be room for error. Actually, you can fight the final boss with Super Sonic 2 for the most part. I think only the last phase, where you have to chase Robotnik, you can't activate Super Sonic, but the previous 2 you can. So yeah, the game is way easier. Super Sonic also, Hypersonic, Super Sonic makes the game even more easy. The levels as well also are not that hard. You only start feeling the spike in difficulty. Pretty much at the end, when you get to the Death Egg at the end of the Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because honestly, I don't remember having particular problems in other stages. Maybe there's some random difficulty spikes a little bit. Sometimes, like for example in Sandopolis, or maybe Flying Battery a little bit, but it's nothing, honestly. You won't get a game over ever in these zones, because they are no hard zones. They're slightly harder than the average of the game, which is not that hard to begin with. So this is easily, in my opinion, the easiest game in the whole series when it comes to the classic 2D games, at least. So 1, 2, CD, and 3 and Knuckles. Now, a couple more things that make this game special are the way you collect the Chaos Emeralds. I've already talked about the special stages in regards to the other games, but this one does something special. Since at first it was released in 2 separate games, so they found a way to have you collect the Chaos Emeralds 2 times, so at least when you connect the games, you don't get to waste the second part of the adventure doing nothing. So you have to collect Chaos Emeralds both in the first part, which is Sonic 3, and then Sonic and Knuckles. In the second part, they will be called Super Emeralds, because they will be powered up emeralds. So they're called Super Emeralds, and this is the only game they appear in, I think. And if you collect both Chaos Emeralds and Super Emeralds, you get to unlock Hypersonic, because when you get the normal Chaos Emerald, in the first part of the adventure, you become Super Sonic. And then if you collect them again in the second part, you can become Hypersonic. Hypersonic is pretty much Supersonic level 2. His coloration is a bunch of different colors, so he will flash of different colors compared to Supersonic, which is just yellow, like a Super Saiyan. And it's just a more powerful version of Supersonic. You can perform a special attack by double pressing jump. When you're in the air, you press jump again. It pretty much destroys everything that's on screen, every enemy that's on screen. And I think he also has infinite air, so he cannot drown even when he has no shield. And that's pretty much it. It's just a cooler version of Supersonic. And this one is also the first game in the series that did the whole Supersonic final level or Hypersonic. That makes you play the final level as Supersonic or Hypersonic. Because no other game did that previously. So this game is where it comes from. And I mean, there's a little hack that I personally discovered. If you like, when I was a kid, I wasn't at first I wasn't able to get the Chaos Emeralds in the second part of the adventure because I couldn't find all the rings. I could only find rings in pretty much Mushroom Hill, and after that a couple ones in Sandopolis, and that's it. But those weren't enough to get me Hypersonic, also because I had to practice the special stages. So I pretty much came up with a little trick, because I wanted to see Doomsday Zone, what was like. So I said to myself, why not just get the Chaos Emeralds in the first part, because I had already mastered getting the Chaos Emeralds there, and not get them in the second part. Because if in the second part, if you try to get the Chaos Emeralds, they get taken away from you. So you get to keep the Chaos Emeralds pretty much for the second part of the adventure without collecting them again. And you actually get to see Doomsday Zone if you do like that. The only thing is that you don't get the true good ending, I think, from what I remember. So after you beat Robotnik, the Master Emeralds remains outside the atmosphere, outside the planet, and you don't get the full good ending. But at least you get to see. If you don't know how to get or find all the Chaos Emeralds in the second part, just do that, and you get to see Doomsday Zone. And this game is not special just because of this. It's also because it feels like a great interconnected adventure. You start going into Angel Island, then you meet Knuckles, and then you go zone through zone fighting enemies. And then you get at the ending of the first part of the adventure when you see Knuckles pretty much trying to stop you one more time, but he then falls off into the lake in a launch base zone. And then you meet him, you see him again slightly after in Mushroom Hill. And then you keep going forward, and you get to witness how Robotnik betrays Knuckles and the whole thing in Lava Reef and then in Hidden Palace. And then you keep going forward while Knuckles becomes your friend in Hidden Palace. And then he tells you to go ahead without him because he's tired. And then you get to go into Death Egg, and that's the end. Pretty much you get to face Robotnik's Death Egg robot once again. And then there's Doomsday Zone. And after you beat Robotnik one last time, you get to go back to Angel Island, give the Master Emerald back to Knuckles, which is it's his job to protect the Master Emerald. And that's it. You go back to your base, your house, your native island, and that's one big huge adventure. That's what makes this game special, in my opinion. It feels like a journey. And honestly, even though it's definitely longer than the other Sonic games, it doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. Actually, you feel satisfied when it's over because you got to play a fucking great game. This is my opinion, this is the best Sonic game ever made. No other game has managed to touch it. And the anniversary edition is even better because it adds a few little things like more frames of animations. So that's good. Of course, the best way to play it is probably gonna be either with the mods like Angel Island Revisited or Sonic 3 Complete. But the anniversary edition is not that bad, honestly. As long as you mod in the music that has been changed in the Sonic 3 part, it's probably not that worse compared to the mods. The mods are better because they give you more customization options in terms of music. Because you get to choose which music always plays, for example, when you go Supersonic. Because in the anniversary edition is by default the Knuckles portion of the Super music, if I remember correctly. Or maybe not. Or maybe I'm thinking about the original version. But yeah, there's a lot of customization in the Sonic Air in Sonic Complete. So those are the better experiences. But the anniversary edition is not that bad. So, I mean, to conclude, I already talked about this game a lot. It's 40 minutes, more or less. So, if you haven't played it, definitely play it. Because if you won't like Sonic after this game, you won't ever like it. This is as good as it gets when it comes to Sonic. This game is Sonic's masterpiece. So, but yeah, let me know your thoughts. Because, this game is Sonic's best game. I mean, how do you like it? What was your experience with it? And all that stuff. As usual, let me know your thoughts and I'll catch you in the next video. But don't forget to like and subscribe because this video, took a lot to make. So, thank you for watching and bye bye.